Hello. Welcome to the show.
Something, but also nothing.
Yeah.
I'm your host, Seth Barnes,
And I'm Trip Lad.
and basically, we decided that our jobs are not paying us enough. Just kidding. We're gonna talk about everything, but also nothing.
Yeah, we're just going to be sharing opinions, talking about things that we find interesting, and hoping that you guys also find it interesting. The current plan is it'll be sort of a grab bag-esque show, with sort of 2 to 3 topics a podcast, just talking about random things or things that we have planned or found interesting. I know we're both into gaming. We're both a bit of a gamer, so I know that's going to be a pretty constant topic. We also both enjoy a good bit of folklore, a bit of spookiness, so a true crime slash storytelling sort of segment is going to be also pretty consistent. We did a trial run of this that the audio was just way too horrible
It
to
was
do.
bad.
But the topics were good. We ended up having a bit of a TV and movie section, so that might happen again.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a general sort of grab bag. It's been quite a day today.
Has. It's been very much of a day.
Mm-hmm.
So, I've had a great day. Trip, not so much. So, tell us about Snailville in Georgia.
Oh, well. My second time over at this location for the pod, and put it in my GPS like I did last time to get here. And apparently there's an identical address. 30 minutes in the other direction. So I drove about 30 minutes one way on the highway because the first time it took me down the back roads. So I was like, oh, this seems different, but I'm on the highway, so maybe this is just like the main way to get there. Logical assumption, I assume. Not logical. Bad assumption I made. It took me 30 minutes away. I realized I'm nowhere near where I'm fucking supposed to be. So I reroute again. I text Seth. I'm already was going to be late. I was going to get there at like 8:20 instead of 7. End up getting there at like 9:10 because I had to drive another 40 minutes. So I drove for an hour. We went and got some breakfast. Took a, slightly above normal time. People who had gotten there after us had gotten their food before us, which is, not a big deal. But you're like, oh come on, man, we're starving here. I'm trying to drink my cup of coffee, and we got to go record a podcast. The cup of coffee, a little dirty. The thing had a little dirt in it. It had a interesting flavor, decent, I guess. A little below decent.
I mean, it was IHOP. What do you expect?
Well, I honestly expected a decent cup of coffee.
Cup of Joe.
A nice cup of Joseph. Then we got here, and Seth, who had thought he had solved all of the audio problems, did not, in fact, solve the audio problem.
So it's going on about 2 o'clock. Going on 2 o'clock. We were supposed to be done.
Oh, yeah, done by now.
Done. That's why we start at 7 or 8. But it was a hot mess. It was a hot mess. And then turns out that there was another mic hooked up. So it was the headphones on top of
2 mics.
2 mics.
Which ended up creating a feedback loop. So anytime we tried to record for about 30 minutes to an hour until we realized that the headset also had a mic, it would just start playing this ringing audio every time we tried to listen to it or speak over a certain threshold in our mic. It was just so frustrating, and honestly the ringing, very annoying. You hear a little creature tapping around. That is Obi?
That's Opie.
Hello, Obi.
The Opie boy.
This dog likes to lick.
He does. I
Don't
mean,
look
it's
at
better than...
No. Okay, I'm sorry. My mic, you're definitely hearing him lick his lips and such right now. He's a good boy, though.
He's a good boy.
He's our third guest.
He is. Because we don't have many friends here.
Just the 2 of us. Copyright.
It was quite a morning.
But we ended up figuring everything out. So now we are ready to rock and roll.
Yes, hopefully, God, hopefully. Um,
Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. Am I right?
Amen. I'm gonna hopefully put this on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. And so that's all the major things where we're gonna go. On Apple Podcasts, it's probably just gonna be an audio, and then YouTube, you can see everything that goes on beyond everything. So without further ado, let's get into this. Let's stop us blabbing and let's talk about what we have to talk about. Trip?
Yeah, all right. Well, we'll start talking about some games, some gaming. We have a lot of games that came out recently. Two big ones, I'm sure, if you keep an eye on gaming at all, you've heard of. One is Helldivers. Just came out on Thursday. Very good game. Helldivers 2, to be specific. Now, the first one was a top-down sort of strategy shooter, I guess is the best way to put it. And it's transformed into a third-person, over-the-shoulder, first person sometimes, because you can aim down your sights in third person, and you can click in to actually get a full first-person perspective. But huge transformation, huge glow up for the game. And it's been great. I think I checked. Let me double check the numbers really quick. But on Steam, I think they've sold almost 2 million copies of Helldivers in the week that it has been out.
Oh wow!
And they sort of shadow dropped it at the PS5 or PlayStation State of Play. I don't know if you watched the State of Play. It's like kind of PlayStation's E3.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So they pretty much just shadow dropped Helldivers 2 at the State of Play, and I've been loving it. Really great game. It makes you feel like a badass. It's very cinematic. Seth watched me play a little bit. Seemed to be interested. How would you rate your just raw viewing of it? No premise.
I would rate it like a 7 out of 10, just because I would probably need another person to, fight the aliens or fight the robots in this. But I think overall it was a pretty decent formatting. Lots of hand movement for sure.
Oh yeah, okay, hang on. Let me give you a little more backstory for the game before we get too into it. It's designed to be a 4-person co-op game. It's also a live service game, and it honestly has one of the coolest live service aspects I think I've seen in a video game, which I'll touch on in a second. But for reference on what the actual gameplay is like, you are effectively like a space marine. And you're fighting bugs, kind of like Starship Troopers a little bit. Wait, is it Starship Troopers? Is that the movie where they're fighting bugs? It's either Starship Troopers or Battlestar Galactica. The one where like...
I think it's Battlestar Galactica.
I'm doing my part.
Yeah,
that part, that movie with the alien bugs, it's pretty much like a version of that where you are sent in to take out these giant alien bugs that are sort of just wreaking havoc. I think lore-wise for the video game... I think that the humans were like farming something from the bugs, and then the bugs ended up breaking out of a farm, and now there's just huge infestation.
I love that.
Because the humans are at war with these Terminator-esque automatons with like laser swords and fucking rocket launchers and tanks and very different types of gameplay.
Yeah.
Like one is just blasting bugs, and the other is almost like a stealth, almost like Vietnam kind of vibe. You're like crouching through the jungles trying to avoid these robot patrols, but just really solid gameplay. As far as the hand movement that Seth was talking about, I think it's one of my favorite mechanics for this that I've seen in a video game. But you can call down these giant like orbital strikes, these crazy bombardments from like airplanes and your starship, but to do that you have to put in like a Atari code. You have to put in like a Street Fighter combo effectively to just drop in like an orbital strike. Now, when you drop it in, It is awesome. It's insane. I mean, you're just blowing bugs up like nothing. It makes you feel like a badass.
Yeah,
But
nuclear bomb,
yeah.
everything.
Yeah, that's actually the mission I did. It's literally like you go get launch codes and you nuke a giant nest of bugs. And
Yeah.
you get to watch the nuke blow. It's not just nuke and the mission ends. You get the Seth was like, "Oh, you just died of radiation poisoning, bro, by the way." I was like, "No, not in my spacesuit, dude." But no, it's a great game. As far as the live service aspect, something I find really interesting is, because live service is like Fortnite, sort of like Apex, like the Battle Pass sort of system. But in this one, the live service aspect is like how much you have fought back the bugs and the robots. So the live service aspect is you can see how many people are actively on a planet doing a mission, how much of the planet you've liberated from the bugs or the robots. And they give you missions that like everybody's trying to do. It's like, hey, everyone playing the game, we got to protect these 2 planets. And if you do that, huge XP, which is kind of dope. It's way more than just your normal, here's your weekly missions. It's like we all have a goal as every person playing the game right now.
So once you take over the planet, then is it over with?
No. So once you take over the planet, it unlocks like another sector of planets further back.
Oh.
Yeah. So as far as I know how the game actually plays, it's almost like, so each planet has its own set of procedurally generated maps. And so anytime you go to launch a mission, it procedurally generates points of interest and other random things that you can discover alongside the main mission.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but no, it's a very well executed, very fun. Did have a couple of issues on launch, I'm not going to lie. You could not really join random people online. It was a bit buggy. I don't think they expected the game to blow up as much as it did.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, they kind of shadow dropped it. And like the first one did well. It was a twin stick shooter, but like this game has blown. I mean, 2 million copies in a week is crazy.
Oh yeah.
Like it's a $40 game.
Oh.
Yeah. 40 times 2 million is a nice little chunk of change.
Just a little chunk of change.
Yeah. But no, I highly recommend Helldivers. I think it's a very fun game if you're looking for a game to play with your buddies and you enjoy. It's almost like Left 4 Dead in a way, very similar to like you're getting assailed by like hordes of creatures and you're just blasting them. But no, very fun, very cinematic. I would probably easily give it like an 8 out of 10.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Easy 8 out of 10 for me, I think. As long as they can keep up with what they've delivered, because they've promised a lot of free updates after launch. Mm-hmm. And as long as those are good, I see myself playing it for quite a while.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I would highly recommend.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So, anything else you want to touch on about this?
For Helldivers,
Yeah.
not particularly. Did you ever play like Left 4 Dead or any games sort of like that, like where you're fighting through hordes of stuff?
I think I want to say yes, but also no clue.
Yeah. This mic is mine, buddy. Sorry if you're hearing this doggy licking his lips, audio listeners. It's okay. Wrestling him to the ground. There you go, buddy.
Just lay down.
Another game. These are both games that don't really fit into Seth's wheelhouse, so he thinks these kinds of games are stupid. I just felt like I should share that as I kind of monologue here about games. But I'm sure, even if you're not a huge gamer, if you like Pokemon at all, you probably heard of Palworld and all the drama about it and people wanting them to get sued. Me personally, I get it. I get where both sides are coming from.
Right.
And me personally, on copyright and stuff, I think you can use similar things in a transformative way and it not be copyright. Palworld, though, is a lot of people have described it as Pokemon with guns. And it's this game where you can catch these creatures in these spheres, not Pokeballs.
Uh-oh.
You can catch these creatures in these pals, in pal spheres. And you can use them to fight other pals. And you can also use them to help you gather resources. It's a survival crafting game. But so you can catch up to 115 pals right now, and you have a pal dex, not similar to the Pokédex. That one is pretty similar. I'm not gonna lie, it is really similar. That
sounds more like Pokemon. And
But
I see where they're coming from about they want to sue them.
well, people want Pokemon Company to sue them. Pokemon Company has not sued them at all.
Okay.
And Palworld has been in open development for about 3 years now. It only recently came out this year and also did crazy numbers. It's one of the top sold games on Steam. It surpassed Cyberpunk 2077, I believe. But what makes it different is the survival crafting, the open world aspect. You can use your pals as weapons. Like you can run up and like your first pal you catch, you engage hand to hand combat with it and punch it out and then throw a spear at it.
Oh, okay.
It's part of the way they use it in a transformative way is very dark. It's much darker tonally. A lot of people have compared it to. I think it's sort of a play on Pokemon itself because if you really think about Pokemon, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna catch this creature and make it fight for its fucking life for the rest of time. But in this game, not only can you make them fight for their life, but you can also make them do hard labor for you. Um, I mentioned this part to Seth, and he was very excited about it. He wanted to make them do the most brutal work, and not. He said he wasn't going to feed them. So he's very mean. I like to treat my pals nice,
Yeah,
but
I would not.
I will say, enjoy the game a lot. Think it's a great premise. It is a little bit lacking in content right now. There's not really there's some lore, but there's not really like a story.
Yeah.
There are towers. There's like gym leaders or bosses to sort of aim to fighting and stuff. They're in these towers that you have to go and battle them in. So there is stuff to do. 115 pals to catch, and there's like they don't evolve or anything. They have a fusion system where like you breed two pals together, and they can create like a unique version of that pal sometimes.
Like of offspring.
Yes, you can put them in the breeding farm, make them bone.
Oh, that sounds is like the Sims that you get to watch them bone?
No, you weirdo. No, they stand around in the pen, and then an egg pops out in the middle. You want them? You want to watch that? I mean, if you want to, I'm sure that exists, but no, I think it's a solid game. I am eagerly awaiting a big update to really add some content, but I think I've probably put in at least 20, 30 hours just leveling up my pals and sort of fighting the various bosses and stuff that there is.
Yikes.
Yeah.
I much rather have a story. Everything has a story. Even Apex has a story to it. I feel like if it had a story that I can like watch before I start, I feel like I would get behind it a lot more.
Or even just be invested in, because like a game can be passable but have a really good story and you want to play it more than like a solid game. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Yeah, so I'm eagerly, as far as the copyright stuff go, I think this is a very heated topic, and obviously, again, we're just kind of shooting the shit here, so take any opinions with a grain of salt, obviously, but from what I've heard, Palworld and Pokemon are both based or took inspiration from Dragon Quest. And I was asking Seth this question earlier, where if two things are based on the same source material, can there be a copyright infringement on each other? Like, obviously one did it before the other, for sure, but like, how far do you have to stray from the inspiration? Because if you can use that as inspiration, why is it not okay to use Pokemon as an inspiration, right? Like if Pokemon uses Dragon Quest as inspiration, and so does Palworld, but people take that as using Pokemon as inspiration, it kind of seems like potato tomato to me. It's like, if they're taking inspiration from a game, why can't we take inspiration from their game?
I feel like where they're coming from, it's too similar. Like it, like the capturing with the balls and all the different creatures. I feel like that's where they're wanting to see and wanting to see the difference. It doesn't matter. Like, you can take an idea and make it your own, but don't make it exactly like the other one.
Well, so what's interesting is Nintendo and Pokemon Company are normally super harsh on copyright and stuff. Like, they'll take down people's streams, people's YouTubes for playing their games, or even just using their music sometimes. Like, they usually take down like 100 Pokemon clones a year. Just like, hey, quit doing that, stop that, cease and desist.
Oh.
Which is why it's so strange for Palworld to have existed for so I think 2 or 3 years in development, open like public development,
Yeah.
and then to release, and now already done huge numbers, and still not have received anything. I mean, with how anal Nintendo and the Pokemon Company typically are, it kind of feels like they would have jumped in immediately and been like, "Hey, you got to stop that."
Yeah.
And another thing is the Palworld studio is also I think it's a Japanese or a Chinese studio, but their copyright law is the same as the Nintendo companies and the Pokemon Company because they're in Japan. And copyright is different in the US, which is usually where it gets into like a flip-floppy sort of like, can Nintendo copyright certain like YouTubers or streams and that sort of thing. But yeah, just very interesting topic. Palworld, I would give a solid 6 as it stands right now. I enjoy it a lot, but I totally get I can play a sandbox game and not be told what to do and have fun.
Right.
Some people definitely need to be told what to do, and I totally get it.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes I find myself being like, I don't really know what to do right now.
Right.
But no, solid 6.
I feel like my favorite kind of game is when I have choices. If I
Yes.
can determine what the character does, what they do,
Mm-hmm.
that's I can get behind that.
And especially when it actually matters.
Yeah, exactly.
I love a choices matter game.
Oh, for sure.
Sucker for it.
Yes.
You don't like D&D or
I
anything.
don't like D&D.
Baldur's Gate 3, phenomenal choices matter game. A lot of choices, a lot of big choices that really matter. You could maybe get into it. You don't like fantasy games even, do you?
Not really, no.
Where does Apex fit on the... Because it's pseudo fantasy in a certain way. It's like sci-fi, I guess.
I feel like Apex is like if it's anything shooting, then I can get behind it. If you have to have skill to do it, I'm not the best at it, but I do rack up some points, some topics, some um,
Kills.
yeah, some kills.
Points on the board.
Exactly. I'm not the best, but I'm also not the worst.
Right.
So, um, that's where it stands with me.
I don't want to drag on gaming too long, but did you have something you want to talk about in terms of the Apex sphere? I know you had mentioned something.
Yes, but no. Apex is getting more and more like Overwatch at some point. Overwatch has a whole team. Apex only has 3 people that you can play with. But also these high skilled, high performance gamers are kind of mean to their teammates. I was watching a YouTube. It's How. His stream name is TSM Imperial How, and he places third on the Apex games and everything. He does these tournaments and gets money, but how much money do you get alone? So like, can you live off of that? Um, and when I was watching, he was getting mad that his friends wasn't helping him, and he was the first one to get down. Um, he was just dogging on them, saying how bad they were. Why were you not listening to me and all this? I just think they need to not be so damn rude. Just like Lululemon, I used to be a whole fan of her. Crazy Ratchet is another one. I used to be a fan of them, but once they started being rude to not even to the people they were playing with, but to their stream when you ask them questions. I remember I was on Lululemon's stream one night and I said, "Why is she being so angry?" And she just came for me. She's like, "You don't know who I am. You're rude. All of this. You can leave." Another one I saw a Hispanic talking Spanish on her chat, and she had an automated message saying, "This is an English chatting room. If you don't speak English, then this is not the stream for you." So it's really after that I really didn't like the way she only streamed to like she only wanted people that spoke English to watch her stream. She wasn't even accommodating to them. So it was just how low a person did you have to be, even if the stream was in Spanish and the person wrote in Spanish, it would automatically say this is an English stream.
Really?
Yeah, so that's where I really cut the ball with Lululemon, just because of that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, someone, I'm a bit of a rage gamer, I get pissed,
right,
but at a certain point, it's like in the moment, like, oh, what the fuck, why didn't you peek with me? But
yeah,
never like dogging
yeah, no.
people. I mean, like, there's a certain level, right, of acceptable, I'm pissed off, I'm tilted
Right,
right now, let me, say some shit. But
yeah.
especially the English speaking thing just seems uncalled for. I mean, why,
It really was.
even like, let's say you're a scummy person, like, just take the views, like,
Yeah.
don't accommodate to them, just take the views. But like, why would you go out of your way to be like, hey, if you don't speak English, why are you here?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
yikes, like,
Yeah,
not a hot look.
not a
Don't know
hot
who
look.
this is, but
Well, count your blessings.
mm,
Because she was, I used to be a whole fan. Like, I used to watch her on a daily until I joined one of her streams, and that's what I saw. And I was like, you know what? Never again.
yeah,
I'm not going to support you. Um, Crazy Ratchet, he's another one. He really, um, not so much of a, I don't even want to say racist towards Lululemon, just like not accommodating.
right.
Racist is as a whole.
Race is a big word to throw around.
It is, and so that's why I'm not even going down that rabbit hole
Mm-hmm.
because we could be here forever.
Mm-hmm.
But Crazy Ratchet, he's also another Apex streamer, and he just dogs on his team, who's like dogging on him. So
Mm-hmm.
if his team is like a rando homophobe,
Mm-hmm.
he's gonna let you know.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's okay because the person had it coming. Like, don't say racist or homophobic things, and you won't be.
Blasted.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And like this goes on his YouTube where he has millions of subscribers. People watch him on a daily. He has tens to 100,000 viewers. And he doesn't block out their username either. He wants you to know, like,
Right.
this is who said it. So,
Yeah. Accountability.
exactly.
Yeah.
So that's also another one. So yeah, I think those are the main ones. Just don't be
Yeah.
an asshole.
Well, toxicity in gaming has always sort of been around. It's like, again, as someone, I get pissed when I die in a video game. Not all the time, but if
Right.
I go home, I want to play my video game to have fun,
Yeah.
to maybe get a W,
Right.
enjoy it. If I am playing a game like Dark Souls or Elden Ring or like CS:GO, and I'm getting shit on,
Yeah.
I have broken a desk before from how much I punch it because I'll be like, damn it, I'll slam my fist on the desk. I'll be pissed. I have a metal desk now, so
Oh, good.
yeah, just
good.
now the screws just fall out.
Oh.
I'm kidding, a little bit, but it's really easy to be toxic. Not to, let's be honest, it's very easy to control yourself and not get homophobic or racist.
Right.
But it is hard sometimes to not talk shit when you're tilted.
Oh,
To
yeah,
be
for
like,
sure.
what are you doing? Like, where are you looking? Like when you drive on the highway.
Oh, okay.
I'm just kidding.
You're
I'm
not.
kidding. I'm
You're
not.
on a daily.
Yeah.
How bad of a driver I am.
Okay, I didn't say you were a bad driver. I just said you were aggressive.
I won't drive.
Well, that was a nice little topic on gaming.
Yeah.
I think we're going to transition into spooky, scary.
I think this is my cup of tea.
Yeah,
Um,
this week.
this week. I really want to talk about the different serial killers and how they notorious known. I have some pulled up that people already know, so I don't want to talk too much about them. But the ones I do want to talk about is something that is kind of scary. Definitely definitely should have been known. Um, and this serial killer only strikes men. Um, in better word, men and boys. Um, his name was John Wayne Gacy. Okay. He was born March 17th of 1942. He was a serial killer, not only a serial killer, he was a sex offender, a rapist, tortured, um, and murdered at least 33 men and young boys. Um, and this all happened in Norwood Park Township in Chicago. I feel like Chicago is a very,
Dangerous.
very dangerous.
I do think going forward, you probably put a mini disclaimer before you start talking about killing and dismembering people just going forward. That was a hard transition from gaming into let's talk about fucking murderers and chopping up people.
Disclaimer: listener discretion advised.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like he he did a lot of horrible things. Also, he was known as the killer clown because his public performance was a clown. Like he would go to like birthday parties, and that's how he would catch his victims, is these little children's birthday parties.
That is horrifying.
That is, and why do you think when I have a child, they're never gonna have a clown at the party because of John Wayne Gacy?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that honestly is what tarnished the reputation of clowns, because I feel like clowns were a pretty prominent thing, and then they sort of slowly started to phase out. John Wayne Gacy happened, and then it kind of mini revived with the scary killer clown trend. Do you remember that, where there were just killer clowns appearing in places?
Yeah.
In the woods. When was that? Like
Yep.
5-10 years ago, something
yeah.
like that. Yeah, terrifying. It was like killer clowns just sort of resurfaced. I'm pretty sure inspired by John Wayne Gacy. Yeah. But no, it's very terrifying because a clown. I think also it sort of played up that a lot, like the scary clown.
Yeah, and like the drain.
Yeah.
Or the sewage drain. I feel like that's where they got most of their inspiration, but also this clown wasn't just like a public figure. It would just like pop up in your storage drain. Like it wasn't known to like go to children's birthday parties.
Right.
Be all happy.
It's almost scarier in a way that it's like right there with the kids, opposed to being in like the sewer. You're like, oh, that's where I expect a killer clown to be. It's the sewers.
Oh, yeah. Not at a children's birthday party.
Right.
But my whole thing is, how do you even find a performing clown back then? Like the phone book?
Well, honestly, it's probably like ads on like the news or the power polls. You know what I'm talking about? Like actually, like, hey, call my number, or I do birthdays, or
Yeah.
I mean, it's not too different from like, oh, I want a Disney princess to show up at my kid's birthday this weekend.
Right, and I feel like that's going to be another one that might happen, is the Disney killer princess. You know?
Yeah. Someone who impersonates Disney characters at the birthday parties or whatever. Yeah.
Or a killer is going to kill that princess and then take everything, her whole costume, and then that's where it all starts.
And you're getting into real Goosebumps story territory where it's like, here, you finish your serial killer belt, but I have a few scary stories this has made me think of that I can share at the end.
So yeah, he was definitely, he was born March 17th of 1942, in Chicago, actually, where he did all his not beautiful.
Yeah, bad choice of
Bad
word.
choices. Bad crimes.
Yeah, bad crimes. He did bad crimes. You were going for a bit too much of an ironic take there. I think sarcastic, perhaps satirical.
He was actually married twice to Marilyn Myers. They got married in 1964, and they divorced in 1969. So only 5 years that they were together. After Marilyn Myers, it was Caroler Carol Hoff. And they were married from 1972 to 1976.
Wow.
So only 4 years. So there's something like,
I mean, he's a killer.
yeah, exactly.
He's probably a little crazy, I would say.
I mean, but did these women know that he was a killer?
Had to have.
You think?
Well, when did he start killing?
1972.
He was married, last marriage,
His last
last
marriage.
1962?
1972 was his second marriage.
Oh, so that's right
That's
when he started.
And
Yeah.
then it ended 1976, and he stopped 1978.
Probably
So-
a bit of a slow burn on that one. You know, maybe the first wife saw it coming, you know.
And then wanted to get
Out.
out.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Smart move.
Very smart. Very smart. He killed, but Gacy committed all his murders in his ranch home.
Oh, wow. So he took everyone back to his ranch?
Everyone back to his ranch.
Wow.
So, that typically he would lure a victim to his house and then basically.
That sounds awful.
It does sound awful.
Imagine the proposal. Creepy man in a clown costume. Hey, you want to come to my place and see some magic tricks? I feel like he had to have some trick up his sleeve. I mean, there has to be more than just luring them there, right? How do you think he did it?
I don't know. I mean, these were all young men.
Well, I guess, yeah, depending on how young, I guess a clown would be pretty easy to trick, you know, children who assume a clown is a, you know, barrel of laughs, you know.
And back then, they didn't really have like stranger danger.
Right,
you know?
yeah, it wasn't, this is one of the reasons why stranger danger.
It happened.
Yeah.
Like, this man was the reason stranger danger happened. He performed magic, and then he would rape and torture. I feel like asphyxiation and strangulation is the same thing.
Well, strangulation, I think, specifies his hands around their neck or, like, actively doing it, while asphyxiation is, like, bag over their head or something.
Oh.
You know what I mean? And they just don't have air.
Oh.
Rather than, like, strangling, I guess.
them, like hands-on.
I assume. I mean, why else have a different connotation, you know?
I mean, then 26 victims were buried in the crawl space of his home.
On top of the 33? Mm-hmm.
But 26 victims were buried in the crawl space of his home, and 3 were buried somewhere else on the property. So, why did he bury 23 in the crawl space, and then only 3 in the different areas on his property? Like, what made him do that?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I feel like typically these people who end up being serial killers have a good bit of mental illness in some capacity. So maybe there's some sort of twisted meaning in what's in between the walls of the home, you know, or that sort of thing, or what's, you know, right under the ground outside, you know. There could be any kind of twisted meaning you could interpret from that, you know.
And then 4 of them were thrown in a river.
Damn.
So
He was really trying to spread it out.
he was. So he really thought he was smart.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear.
Oh,
Don't punch the microphone.
sorry. Convicted in December 21st of 1978, and then he was sentenced to death on March 13th, 1980. He was executed by lethal injection in Statesville Correctional Center on May 10th, 1994. So,
The old injection.
yeah. And what throws me off in his mugshot, from the side,
Mm-hmm.
he looks big, but from the front he smiles for the camera.
Mm-hmm.
When you're convicted of 23 murders, you're smiling, sir. You're about to be poisoned in your veins, and it just blows my mind.
You know.
And it might be a hot topic. I don't think someone should be on death row for 50 years.
Yes,
As soon as you're convicted of and you were sentenced to death row, it needs to happen within the month.
Yeah, I mean, I fairly agree with that. I mean, like, when I found out that people could be put on hold for so long. Like the interview I'm referencing, I think he's been on death row for like 10 years or something.
It's no.
And the interviewer's literally like, "Why are you still alive?"
Literally.
And the guy's like, "Wish I knew," or like it's just like, I don't know. I was supposed to be executed. You know what I mean?
You should have executed
Like max
10 years ago.
Max a month after your sentence. Like, I mean, I don't know why you would prolong it any more than that. Doesn't that just take up more of our time and
Our
taxes?
resources, yeah. Because we have to feed them.
Yeah, we have to feed them, pay for their cell, their clothes, any
Give
stuff
me... They're living for free.
I mean, it's not good living.
But it's better than paying rent.
Is it?
I think so. You got a house. You got a bed. You got
dudes trying to beat you up, dudes stabbing you.
Well, only if you got to run your mouth.
No, they mess with you no matter if you run your mouth or not.
If I was in not Beyond Scared Straight, but 30 Days In, keep my head low, I'm just a little white boy.
Nah, you would get destroyed.
I don't think I would.
You would. There's like a lot of like inner mechanisms to jail and stuff. Like, do you know there's gangs based on race, just like when you default get into jail. Like,
yeah.
And like if you interact with,
like the blacks can't mingle with the whites.
Yeah, if you mingle, apparently like it's like a huge,
it's a bad,
yeah,
like a no-no.
And you can get beat up by your own dudes effectively.
Like if you're mixed, you have to pick a white or a black.
It's crazy implications, because in my head originally, that's the one. Well, it shouldn't be, but I feel like if anything, you can find some commonality there, both being criminals or whatnot. But
apparently not.
It's like its own separate criminal world against each other, because it's not even like you're committing crimes against rich people anymore or whatever. You're just doing each other wrong,
Yeah.
Obviously, I've never been in there. It's that situation.
I've always wanted to go.
I don't really want to go.
I mean, not like as the inmate, as like a
observer,
outsider looking in.
Yeah.
Like, I was watching Beyond Scared Straight, and they have an emergency button.
Oh, really? The inmates do?
Yeah.
Or that's nice.
You push it when there's a problem.
And they maybe come.
It took a guard 20 minutes to come.
Yeah. Yeah.
20. What are you doing? You're dead.
You
are bleeding out in a cell.
That's what all...
And the officer was like, yeah, how can I help you? Like...
In every jail movie, that's how it goes, man. Someone gets shanked, and, and they hit the button, or, like, someone should be there, and there's just no guards, no nothing.
Guards.
Takes them, like, 30 minutes to walk around the building.
And they only get violent when the inmates aren't listening to them.
Movie jails, horrifying.
I don't think they're as horrifying as the real thing, though.
Definitely not. Definitely not. Just more easily viewable, I guess. Like, mass media and that sort of thing. Because you don't really... I mean, just recently, like we're talking about, like, I didn't know there was, like, its whole inter-gang inside of prison. Like, I knew there were prison gangs, but I didn't know they were just segregated, like straight
Blood and
up.
Crips, I thought that's what it was.
Yeah, exactly. Like, just different sets of gangs that are doing their own thing in different prisons, but it's like a segregated gang type of thing.
Don't mix whites, blacks, Hispanics, nothing.
It's crazy. Very wild.
I think it's kind of, we're like, why?
Right.
Why are we going back? Like, everyone wants a place, but not everyone wants the... I don't know.
Yeah.
They just need to get their life together.
Yeah.
And some of them do. Some of them become godly. Good for them.
Mm-hmm.
But you did murder 7 people. So,
right.
How...
Yeah. It's tough, but I am of the opinion everybody deserves a second chance. You know what I mean? Like,
that's where we butt heads.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think you can always change and grow. Like you said, if you don't want to give people second chances,
then I shouldn't give Gypsy Rose a second chance.
Technically, by your own stance, but I do think there's leeway in it. But you don't seem to.
I don't see any leeway.
So then, why do you like Gypsy Rose?
Same reason. Yeah, no comment.
No, I'm not trying to destroy your view or anything either. I'm just interested to see what.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, totally.
I think the media has really
painted her in a better light.
Yeah.
Almost made her like the victim in the scenario.
Victim. And
Yeah.
I think that's why
You sympathize.
Exactly. And I think that's
because it is horrible. It is horrible.
Right.
And you can feel bad for someone, but still recognize, like, I mean, you did kind of kill your mom also simultaneously, but her mom was a bad person.
Right.
Morals become such a the world's not black and white.
Like it's not John Wayne Gacy where he's just picking up an 18-year-old and torturing them.
Yeah,
and
you're like,
I'm not gonna forgive you like that.
Right.
Ted Bundy, women, like,
yeah,
I don't have no sympathy for them.
Right.
Everyone is simping over Ted Bundy.
Weird.
Yeah, they simp over him.
Very strange.
Like
Jeffrey Dahmer, I feel like people were simping over for a little bit too after the TV show came out, right?
Maybe it was Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah.
Who was the one? No.
I think Ted Bundy was the one who historically at the time people were like, he's dreamy or whatever.
Okay. Who's
Jeffrey Dahmer? I think recently.
One of them. I want to say. I don't know now.
Just Google who is considered attractive serial killer. Your Google search is gonna be fucked. You're into some weird shit, dude.
Who was a hot serial killer?
I got that on film.
Ted Bundy.
Ted Bundy.
Yep. Of the Bundy bug.
Bundy bug.
He would pick up. I mean, don't get me wrong. Oh. See.
Don't start simping.
No, I'm definitely not.
Yeah. Well, it looks like we're getting to about an hour runtime, guys, which is what we're trying to stick to. Again, we're trying some stuff out. We might go over in the future. We haven't really set a time limit. This will maybe be a good test run.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like we had a few more things we kind of wanted to talk about, but we didn't. Maybe we dawdled a bit too much.
Got off track.
On tangents and such, but this has been the first something, but also nothing. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Please feel free to give us a review. Let us know how we're doing, what you like, what you don't. And yeah, we'll always be trying to improve the podcast quality and make things better for y'all. Anything you want to say before we get out of here?
No, I think you said it all. I just make sure you look out. Let us know what y'all want to hear next. And if you don't want to hear none of it, let me know so we can
change it up.
We can change it up. We can talk about more gaming, or we can stop the gaming and we can talk about more true crime. Or I feel like there's a lot of podcasts that talk about true crime.
Yeah, I mean, the same with gaming, honestly. Yeah. I mean, podcasts have become so overpopulated right now.
Yeah.
It's hard to find a niche.
What is actually working.
Right, yeah. But, no, we appreciate you guys. And, yeah, we will catch you in the next one. See ya.
Bye.